Hello, I'm Amy Zawi with the Jerusalem Connection Report for Friday, September 22nd, Noise versus Success. Just like a screaming child, sometimes what makes the most noise gets the least amount of reaction. That's, of course, if the parents have patience, wherewithal, and apply discipline as necessary. So, too, the Western world is caught up with a bunch of bullying and demanding children, known as the BDS movement, and it needs to be met with reason and sometimes discipline. In a time of reflection during this year's Rosh Hashanah celebration, let's look back at 2017 and see what all the noise was about. The BDS movement, Boycott, Divest, and Sanction, is a loosely affiliated organization of a variety of activists who have targets campuses, churches, trade unions, social justice organizations, and even corporations, in a time where now corporate social justice or social responsibility is also on the world stage. The BDS activists attempt to drown out the state of Israel economically and culturally, and it is just a veiled attempt at anti-Semitism. However, the results that BDS has been trying to achieve, despite all their noise, seems to be failing. Academic protests, including the one the MLA issued, has failed. Campus protests include slogans of 2017 to be the most significant year of outcomes. But this is not true. There is a cultural boom in Israel, including visits by international performers and artists, Radiohead, Britney Spears, Conan O'Brien, and many more. Corporate gains are also quite measurable. So while there is a loud BDS voice, there is little evidence of its intended outcome. However, the BDS activities aren't just about cultural and economic sanctions. It is also about branding Israel as an apartheid state, equating it with how South Africa was decades ago. And this, of course, is failing because the analogy is illegitimate and it is an incongruent claim. Legitimate criticism of Israeli policy has now been debunked or compromised, at least by BDS activists, because people are seeing through the faulty reasoning. BDS has claimed that 2017 will be the watershed year for outcomes, but this just has not been so. While the noise is great, the legal trend is just the opposite at both the municipal and the state and federal levels. Bipartisan U.S. support against BDS activities has been widespread and growing in the last few years. Artists and entertainers are also openly speaking out, supporting Israel and debunking BDS claims. The goal here, as we share Red Alerts on Friday, is to share the truth about what is going on with the state of Israel and the false accusations often pointed by BDS are making in their so-called social justice agenda. We are making progress, but this noise from BDS is not ceasing, and it is sometimes turning to violence, especially on college campuses. They are not backing down despite the lack of quantifiable evidence, or, that is, the quantifiable failure. This branding they seek to make is not sticking to many critical thinking people. However, young, naive minds on college campuses are often swayed, at least temporarily. So the battle is not yet won. One continued effort, including prayer and our own ability of seeking truth and also sharing it with others in our communities on the internet and through social media, is to keep the PR campaign of the tiny state of Israel at the forefront, because this is not being done on the network or cable network news. You probably wouldn't know that Israel and its teams were one of the first into recovery efforts with Hurricane Harvey victims in Texas, or the fact that Israel, with great expense and peril to its own citizens, has been helping Syrians on its northern border, Syrian civilians who are injured and otherwise needing help. To illustrate this international sort of grassroots level support of Israel, London this month had a Tel Aviv in London festival, a 4-day cultural, musical, and all-round celebration of all things Jewish in Israel. It openly denounced any efforts of BDS or the like to be part of or interfering with the festival. In fact, the mayor issued a forbiddance of any of their propaganda to be displayed during the 4 days. In the few times that propaganda posters were put up, Londoners, just regular citizens, actually tore them down. Many more people showed up and joined in the celebration than had originally thought, so the exceeding numbers were greatly welcomed and enjoyed. And this is in a town where it is dealing with its own issues on terrorism and its own immigrant population problems. As we celebrate Rosh Hashanah, the day of shouting, let's continue to shout out and drown out the noise that is the BDS movement and continue the good news and truth being spread through our very means of social media, talking to people, and contributing and helping organizations that have this same objective. Shavua Tov. Have a great week, and Shabbat Shalom.